Her name is Teng, and in January of 2011, she was crowned Miss Canada. But before you meet her, I want you to lay aside your idea of what a typical beauty pageant winner might be like, because I'm here to tell you, aside from the beauty thing, there is nothing typical about this pageant winner. From how she defines beauty to her primary life passion, Tara is going against the flow. And we are so glad that she is with us on Full Circle. Welcome, Tara.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So good to have you. First, congratulations, Miss Canada.
Thank you.
That's huge.
Well,
you're from British Columbia.
I am.
So you were Miss British Columbia, then
Yes.
crowned Miss Canada.
Yeah.
So living in British Columbia, was that kind of always a dream of yours to be Miss Canada one day?
No.
No.
Not at all. No, I never, ever would have expected this to happen. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about it, is it's amazing where God takes your life sometimes. Places that you never expected, where you never thought it would go. And yet, you know, I had other plans for my life, plans that were so much smaller. And now I'm starting to realize that maybe God has bigger plans for me than the plans that I had for myself. And I think that that's really exciting, to just get to really be along for the ride and see what he's doing.
So how did you end up going on this journey then? Because, you know, it's not like you just all of a sudden one day stumbled onto a stage and won a pageant, you know.
It started waving like,
Yeah, pretty close, actually.
Pretty much. It's been an incredible journey that I've been on, you know. Wow, I've gone through so much. You know, I grew up in British Columbia, on the Sunshine Coast of British Columbia. Beautiful place. I have an incredible family. I grew up in a Christian home. My dad is actually a pastor. And yet growing up in the church, there were still a lot of struggles. It still wasn't always perfect. You know, I remember there's time, especially when I was in my teens, I was about 15, and my faith went through a really rocky time at that point. You know, church is imperfect. Church is messy, and if anyone thinks that it's perfect, then they should spend some time around a church, because it's certainly not perfect.
And when you're a pastor's child,
No.
daughter or son, man, you see the worst of it, really, in a way,
You
right?
see everything. It's just like anything else. And you know, so there was a time where I went through there where it was really hard, and I got to this point where I was like, you know what, if this is the way Christians treat one another, then I don't want any part of it. And to be honest, I really walked away from my faith for a while. And did my own thing. I'm very strong-willed. I'm very stubborn, and I liked to do it my way, thank you very much, to be very honest.
Yeah.
And I got to this point where I remember being 20 years old, and you know, I had everything by the world standards. You know, I had this great job. I was managing this amazing boutique. I had this great apartment, great car, great boyfriend, you know, all the stuff, right? I had all of that. And after a while, it just all started unraveling and falling apart. And I remember getting to this point and thinking, how did I get here? This isn't my plan. This isn't what I wanted. How did this happen? And I remember so clearly this point when God was like, it was like we were talking, like I could hear his voice almost, as audible as us speaking now. And he just said, Tara, you've done it your way. Are you ready to finally try it my way? And I was like, okay, what have I got to lose?
Yeah.
You know, clearly doing it my way doesn't work.
do you think everybody has that moment in their life where God asks them that question?
Maybe. I think probably, you
Yeah.
know. Sooner or later, I'm sure that probably happens. You know, I can't speak for everybody, but I think that would probably, I mean, we go through so many things that we don't expect in life, you know, and my mom, bless her heart, she's amazing. She's now my best friend, but you know, mothers, daughters don't always get along. And I remember when I was going through this rocky time, when I kind of just cut everybody out of my life because I wanted to do it my own way, and I didn't care what anybody thought. She gave me this book. If I have something I need to work on in my life, my mom gives me this book.
Is it the same book, or is it a different book
Well,
every
let's hope
time?
it's not the same one, that I'm relearning the same issue again and again and again. But she gave me this book. It was an Elizabeth Elliot book. And I remember, love her now, but at the time I was just thinking, oh, this woman is just outdated, and this is totally super, super conservative Christianity and totally irrelevant to my life today. And it had this awful peach cover, which didn't really help.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember I stuck one night in my apartment, nothing better to do, and I was like, okay, well, I'll read this book. And I opened it, so ready to dismiss it. And it started with this beautiful love story. And I'm a sap. I love love stories. And it was just this beautiful story of how God brought these two people together from opposite sides of the world against all odds, and because they were following him. And it wasn't even that. That is what kept me going. But as I read, I heard more and more stories. And I remember this one story by Betty Scott Stam. She was a missionary to China in 1932, and she was martyred for her faith. But in her journal, they found this prayer that said, Lord, I commit my life to you. My life, my dreams, I abandon all my hopes and passions. I give my life, my all, utterly to thee, to be thine forever. Just fill me and seal me with your Holy Spirit. Use me where you will, send me where you will. Work out your whole will in my life, at any cost, now and forever. And I've been praying that prayer. I have it written above my bed, and I've been praying that prayer every day for the last 3 years. And I know how scary that is, because she gave her life to that. But I don't want to waste a single second of what I've been given, you know? And that's what I've been learning as God has been calling me back since that time where I said, okay, God, we'll do it your way. He's been calling my heart back, and he's been revealing stuff about who he is and who I am to me, and about the world. And now, having tasted that and experienced that and comparing that to what I was doing before, I don't want to waste a single second of what he's been given to me.
Wow.
I love that, you know, because we all sing those songs in church, like I surrender all, or we pray those prayers, Lord, I just give it all to you, whatever. But we don't actually mean like all. Like, you know, like don't take it all.
I'll give you all except for what compromises my comfort, right?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
just don't take my comfort.
Or my boyfriend, or my job, or that, right?
Yeah, or it's a metaphor. When I said all it was a metaphor, I didn't mean like take everything.
You didn't think I meant literally, did you?
Right.
It's true. It's true.
But why would you do that? Because, I mean, for somebody who's going, okay, but I want that life. I want the boyfriend, the car, the apartment, managing the boutique. That sounds great. What is it about God, then, that would really move me to kind of surrender it all? What is it about him?
It's like finally living. It's like seeing the world for the first time. You can have all of these things, but if there's no direction and there's no purpose, it's empty. I've had that. And it's empty. The glitz and the glam, even now, it fades after a while. If there's no purpose, there's no substance, there's no meaning behind it, it's worthless.
And your life has definitely taken on a new purpose. As we said earlier, in January of 2011, you were crowned Miss Canada. And I think we have a picture. There it is. Look at you.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What was that moment like?
Well, I'm looking up. I remember right before going on stage, it was, there's that movie, Facing the Giants, and they say if we win, we praise him, if we lose, we praise him, but no matter what, we get out of here knowing we gave our very best. And that goes right back to that prayer. You know, my life, my all, every fiber of my being, the essence of who I am. And it was like, okay, God, you know, I went out there saying, I basically told the judges and everyone, this is who I am, this is what I stand for. If that's not what you're looking for, then don't give me the crown or the title, because I will not compromise in who I am. Absolutely. This is what I'm called to do, and I won't back down. And I was blessed with this incredible opportunity to get to represent my country, my nation to the world, to get to travel and speak and share what's on my heart and things that I am learning and things that I am passionate about. It's an incredible opportunity, and I know that it wasn't me who got there. Because I know nothing about pageants.
You know what? I think as the nation of Canada, we are pretty blessed to have you as our representative. I mentioned the very unglamorous world of your heart's passion, ending slavery as we know it. Tell us, what does that world look like?
Well, most people don't even believe that it exists. Most people don't think that there are currently an estimated, low estimate, 27 million slaves in the world today. They think it's been abolished. I used to think it was abolished a long time ago. And yet there's more slaves today now than ever before in human history. Ever before in human history.
And people think that, oh, slavery, you know, like it's a historical story that we overcame it.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
And yet we need to re-abolish it today.
Now, what do you mean by slavery, though? Like you're saying, as in what we think is slaves working in a field, or
There's
what's the
that
definition
too.
of that?
Slavery has taken on kind of a new form today. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery. We hear about human trafficking quite a bit. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery. It is when you are forced to provide a labor or a service or something like that. You're forced to do something that you wouldn't have normally done, but you're only doing it based on threats of violence to you or your family. That you're literally being controlled. You're not able to walk away, and somebody is controlling you and using you for their own profit or personal gain.
And of course, bonded labor is another form of labor that happens.
Forced prostitution.
You owe debts and you're forced to work it off at a huge rate of interest, which never happens.
Which never ever happens. And that's the thing, we're living in a world where there is so much poverty in the world. Sometimes people, you know, I've heard all kinds of stories of when you have family members who are ill and you need the equivalent of 10 Canadian dollars to take care of, to get the medicine that they need to take care of them. And so they will borrow money from a moneylender. And then the exchange will be, will you come and work at my field or brick factory or whatever it is until this debt is paid off. It seems harmless. But yet the interest that is put on that is so great that they will never ever be able to pay off that debt, and sometimes entire generations are forced into this.
So why are you so passionate about this?
Well, my family is from Southeast Asia originally, and so this is something where hearing the stories of what my family has struggled with before in the past, I've always wondered what would my life be like if I wasn't born in Canada. And so it's one of those things where now that I know about it, now that God has made me aware, now that I have met these individuals who have personally experienced it, I cannot turn and look the other way. I can't turn a blind eye, knowing that this happens and knowing that I can do something about it. Can't turn and look the other way.
And in June of 2011, you actually went to Thailand and Cambodia. Tell me about that trip, because that must have been like a huge impact on your life.
Yeah, I mean, these photographs, the time, it will forever be imprinted in my heart. They're so precious, these girls, primarily girls, although boys are trafficked as well, and they are forced into, specifically, you see in Southeast Asia where I was, sex trafficking. You see forced prostitution all the time. And these are individuals that have been told that this is what you're good for. You're good for sex. This is what you were created for. And I personally don't believe that people were made for the purposes of cheap labor or cheap sex. That's not what human beings were created for. And yet these are people that are being discarded. They're being used and abused and tossed aside and saying that this is your worth and your value to make money for someone else. And that is so horrific, and that is so vile, and it makes me so angry that that's what someone would do to another person, because that's not the value of a person's worth. You know, and we went all over. We went to slum districts. We went to very impoverished villages where I did not see a single girl child over the age of 10 or 11 because they've all been sold.
I saw that too.
We went to red light districts, we went to aftercare homes, we saw it all, you know, and we went to red light district after red light district, and it's just, you just see these women, and my heart breaks for them, because it's like, what is different between me and her? Really. At the end of the day, we're both women. What is different between me and her? And yet she's forced into this situation, whether it's because of lack of opportunities, lack of options, and she has a family that she needs to provide for, and there's no other way for her family to survive, so she does this, or it's because she's forced into this, and at the end of the day, she's chained and put back in a cage at the end of the day. Either way, slavery is wrong. And that there's no reason why there should be exploitation of women. And in 2011, how does this happen? How does this happen? How are there more slaves today than ever before in human history? How is every 30 seconds a child sold into slavery? Every 30 seconds. Think about how many that's been since we've been sitting here. You know?
And people don't know. And this isn't just overseas either, is it?
No, it's not. The first thing that really pulled me into the fight to end human trafficking was when I found out that a neighbor of mine, they lost a daughter at 14 years old to human trafficking.
Here in Canada. Here in Canada.
Here in Canada, in a suburb of Vancouver. Nope. She wasn't kidnapped. It was a suburb of Vancouver where you see minivans and kids playing hockey on the street. That's where I live. And they lost a daughter. She was 14 years old. She was lured into human trafficking, into prostitution by a trafficker who posed as a boyfriend. Who showered her with love, who showered her with attention, who gave her, you know, the affection that she was wanting, just like any other 14-year-old girl, and that she deserves, just like any other 14-year-old girl. And yet that was twisted and manipulated, and then one day he comes back and he says, you know what, I've spent a lot of money on you, I've given you a lot of gifts, I spent a lot of time with you, and now I'm stuck in this situation where I owe a lot of money to somebody else. And I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. And she'll say, honey, you know, baby, I'll do anything for you. I will help you out. I love you. I don't want you to be in this situation. He says, well, maybe you can help me out. You know what? this guy, he really thinks you're cute, and it'll just be a one-time thing. Just spend the night with him. It'll just be a one-time thing, and before you know it, she's forced into commercial sex trafficking, and there's no way out. And she's been blackmailed, and she will be beaten if she leaves, and there's threats upon her and her family.
So Tara, what do we do? Because like as you say this, I mean, you're young. There's so many things you could do. What's just 30 seconds of what we can do?
Don't be blind. Get involved. Realize the power of your voice. Realize that you can do something about it. Talk to your government officials. Talk to your members of parliament. There's a new bill, Bill C-310. Promote that. Things like that. Get on board with the movement.
And as Miss Canada 2011, Tara Teng, you are doing that. You are making us all aware. Thank you for being with us on Full Circle. Thank you for being with us as well. Goodbye.